That was John 17, and I said we'll start with verse 17. Sanctify them by your truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I also have sent them into the world, and for their sakes I sanctify myself, that they also may be sanctified by the truth. And thy word is truth. They will be sanctified by the truth. The passage I'd like to also look at with this is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 26. That was Ephesians chapter 5, verse 26. And I guess we could start back with 25 just to get the right context. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her, that he might sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of water by the word. It's not talking about washing her with water to cleanse her. How does he cleanse the church? How does he sanctify the church? By the word. So when we're reading this back here in John, sent him into the world so that we might be sanctified, cleansed by the word. And this is jumping back to what we were talking about in Sunday's class. It's supposed to be having an impact. If we're going with the flow, we're not being sanctified. We're being like everybody else. It was sort of like when Vicki and I were on our way here tonight. There was a fly in the car, and we were going to be stopping to get her dinner, and that was on her side. And I said, just squish it. You can go ahead and wash your hand when you get inside. I don't want to be squishing a fly before I eat. She gets that that's bug guts. Ugh, don't want that. Do we spiritually respond in the same way, or have we gotten comfortable sitting with the bug guts all over us because that's what everybody else is doing? Like you'd said, is it something that we've just accepted, or are we working to have God's word be impactfully changing us? And you already know it. Place I will always slam forward to then is Galatians, fruit of the Spirit. Are we actively working to have the word change us so that we're becoming people that are more loving, peaceful, gentle, kind, self-control, all those different things? Are we becoming, being changed, being sanctified by the word, or are we being comfortable with the world? Remembering, we've already hit on the point where I'm not praying for the world, is what Jesus says here in John. I'm praying for these. I'm also praying for, and I haven't gotten to this, but that's coming up, I will be praying for, I'm praying for those who will believe. So again, I'm not praying for the world yet. Oh, and when I'm praying again, I'm not praying for the world again. I'm praying for them. I'm praying for those who will believe because of their word. What's the word supposed to be doing? The word is supposed to be the word Christ delivered, and it's supposed to be sanctifying. And some would say set apart. I say set apart for a purpose. Because the word isn't supposed to be something stagnant. It accomplishes. It sanctifies. If we are a sanctified people, I believe by extension, we too need to be accomplishing. Thoughts on this?
It's kind of like purification.
Yes.
That's a good comparison.
Mm-hmm.
And if the word is sanctified and we know the word, then we're cleansed by it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sanctified.
Yes.
So respecting this book is so critical to us.
Mm-hmm.
That most of us do, but so many don't. They don't respect it. So
Yep.
they can't be sanctified
Right.
or cleansed.
And okay, let's tie the cleanse back to where we started this with. Vicky didn't want to be clean just for the sake of being clean alone. She wanted to be clean so she could feel good when she was eating. It wasn't just, I'm staying clean to stay clean. I have a purpose. There are times in our life when we're going to get dirty by the work we're doing. And I'm not talking about spiritually dirty. I mean, when we do the work, yeah, we're going to get dirty. Do we stay in that dirty state after we've done the work? No. Ideally, there is a right way to be. Is it always going to look the way we want it to? No, there's times when there's tough love. And the face that goes on is really stern because of what we want to bring about. Again, purpose. When there's love and there is justice, there is a side that we're not always comfortable seeing. But what is the nature? The nature needs to be that purified, that clean, with a purpose. Because, okay, let's move into it. 20. I do not pray for these alone, but also for those who will believe in me through their word, that they all may be one, as you, Father, are in me and I in you, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that you sent me. Again, purpose. Why is it so important to be sanctifying them in his word? Because they're going to carry the word out. And what's the word going to do? It's going to sanctify others. What's the purpose? To impact the world rightly for God. But is he praying for the world? Is he praying about the lost? Not as a big all-encompassing. He's praying for those who will be called. And we've discussed this a little bit before. Called doesn't mean, oh, I'm picking Tom. Tom is one of the ones I've already decided he's one of the ones that's going to be called. That's not what it means. It means predetermined, defined. Those who will believe, they're the ones I'm calling. What is his belief, or what are they being called to? They're being called to the truth. Now, that's back to this whole purification thing. Because if we're not in and of the truth, then we're of the world. If we are not accepting and desiring to be cleansed, to be changed, to be separated apart from the nastiness of the world, then we're saying we're still in the world and that's still what we desire. And unfortunately, we don't talk about that as nasty as we should. And okay, talking nasty is not a good thing, but simple one. Lot's wife, Sodom and Gomorrah. The night before they depart, her daughters almost get raped. The angels are the ones that pull him back because he's ready to say, hey, I'll send out my daughters for you to get them to back off. And the angels pull him back inside. It's like, okay, one, this is not happening. And they blind all the people that had gathered around Lot's house. Really bad, ugly, getting ready to go down. When they're fleeing from Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot's wife turns back. The allurement of Sodom and Gomorrah was so great, even after what her daughters had faced. Yes, ma'am.
Could there also not be an element of curiosity in there? Or, or from the context, only what is said later, are you saying it's only that she wanted to go back? This what she was leaving?
I could almost see it, except for the fact, if there was a grizzly bear getting ready to run me down, I'm not looking back. I'm running as fast and as hard and as fast and as hard as I can go. I understand what you're saying, the curiosity element, but
What's God gonna do to them, you know? What's happening back there, you know, that I got away from?
yeah, I can see it, sort of, but at the same time, I think the message of it was, one, don't turn back. We're told. Being they were told, don't turn back. In a sense, that disobedience again says where she was really at. I'm not going to listen. It's, like I said, should we really be wanting to watch the train wreck of the world? No. I think we've gotten too comfortable with watching the train wreck instead of working to set ourselves apart, to clean ourselves. Because, okay, we got another part of Scripture where it tells us we shouldn't be even discussing, let alone saying out loud, the things that go on in the world. Not because acknowledging what we just acknowledged, that was totally worldly, but because what should we be focusing on? What should we be striving to become? And, all right, let's just talk about present day. Honesty, how hard do we believe people are striving to become? Striving to be sanctified by the world versus just not being bad. I'd say the vast majority are good and comfortable with just not being bad. And I'll tell you at the same time, a person who decides as, say, a baseball player that has currently a 250 batting average, that means a quarter of the time they'll hit. If they aren't striving to get better, they're getting worse. You just don't stay where you're at without effort. You have to make some effort just to stay as good as you are. But how did I describe this? They're accepting that they're not that bad. They're not in the I'm working to become. Accepting means no effort. Because, hey, I can always find somebody that's worse than me. And, hey, I'm not a drug addict, so I'm not there, you know. I haven't had an affair, I'm not there. I haven't, and boom, I'm so not there. I can name off a lot of things I'm not and feel pretty good about the not bad guy that I am. But is not bad guy the same as becoming, being sanctified by the Word? Truth is, no, it's not. It's accepting. In a sense, it's condoning. It's condoning the idea you're not that bad a person either. And I'm not saying that people say that out loud, but they practice it. Because if I'm not working at it, why should my neighbor work at anything relative to spirituality? Because look at the great example I'm given, and I'm a Christian. Go ahead.
It's just like we say, what would Jesus do? Well, the Bible tells us what Jesus would do.
Yes.
So the Word is what we have to go by. That's what we need to ourselves do, not someone else.
I have been tempted so many times to go where you just went. As far as the what would Jesus do? Because the truth is, it's a great question. It's a question we should be asking ourselves, but I didn't want to bring down where I was talking about with prayer, but the truth is, when it talks about praying continually, like I said on Sunday, it doesn't mean folding our hands, closing our eyes, getting out the words and saying amen. It's the thought. What would Jesus do in this situation? What would Paul be thinking about this? What would God want me to be thinking about this? That prayerful mind state of consideration should be an automatic on. But the truth is, it's not going to get to the automatic on until that becomes the kind of person we are. Ones who are contemplating God's word on a regular basis. So that, okay, today, I had a work situation come up. I was stuck in a room with a person I would refer to as a viper. This person is toxic, poisonous in the work environment. And my thought was, oh, garbage. What do? Do I keep my mouth shut and hope this person leaves so that I don't get bit? Or do I try to be a polite, pleasant person in the safest way possible? Because right now this person is being ostracized. And there's reasons for that. Is that the way that's going to affect a positive change in this person? Or do I strive to be a positive person and show them consideration? I seriously had that doubt. I mean, a doubt. I had that argument in my mind. I was sitting there and I was like, oh boy. This is...
What you need to do.
Huh?
That you would be doing what you need to do.
Yes. And I realized, no, I need to sort of put out the olive branch of, okay, I'm going to be polite. I'm going to be pleasant. I'm going to ask a question that's not going to get anybody in trouble kind of thing. How has your summer been? That's safe kind of thing. Shouldn't cause any feathers to get ruffled, etc. Wasn't going to go into any kind of gossip or anything like that. Boom. Just be polite. Ask. That person didn't hush for the next 45 minutes. They were glad that somebody had said something polite, positive to them. That takes effort. It takes intentionality. Because Savant works in a grocery store. Been there myself, done that. You can do your job and ignore everybody else around you. You can see the mom that's stressing out. You look like you're looking for something and not finding it right now, and that little one's sort of upsetting you. What is it you're looking for? I can probably help. Boom. How hard's that to do? Not very. He's got a job to get done, but recognizing the person in need, there you go. Or simple one today. Totally blew the person away. When I said the simple thing of when you're getting a receipt situation and you're not worried about it, do you need a receipt? No, I trust you. And he starts laughing. And he gets the biggest smile on his face over being told, I trust you. When we work at becoming the positive, work at figuring out how do we enter into conversations safely and positively. When we work out, I'm sorry to hear you're having that kind of a problem in your life. I can understand why that would be stressing you. And when it gets to the point where you know they're going to be comfortable, do you mind if I pray about that? Because 9 times out of 10, if you did that the very first time out of the gate, they're going to think you're crazy. But when they know you and know you care, they understand when you say, do you mind if I pray about that for you? They're understanding you're saying this because you care. The process is a growth process. And we become, and we become, and we become. The sanctification isn't a one and done. Here's the word, you've heard, you're clean. You're better. You're growing. You're becoming sanctified with purpose. That the purpose grows and becomes a more and more natural part of us as long as.
When the word is sanctified, we're sanctified by the word.
Mm-hmm.
More the word that we employ,
Mm-hmm.
then the more sanctified we become.
Bingo.
So it's a growing process, a maturation process.
Yep.
It's like trying to teach kids, they hear this ridiculous language that you hear anywhere you go now. And I finally convinced a couple of grandchildren that to use that kind of language, you should feel dirty and trashy. Well, everybody else does it. I said, do this for me. Just don't use that kind of language. And you better not use it around me again, or there's going to be some sort of places to sit down on. But the fact is, try it and see if you don't feel better,
Yeah.
cleaner. And so help me, it wasn't a week before one of them came back and said, Papa, I do feel cleaner, because I don't use those words anymore.
Yeah.
And all the other kids were still, well, what's wrong with you? He said, I'm feeling clean. And he told them the old story that I told them about washing the mouth out with soap.
Mm-hmm.
As a reminder,
Yeah.
that taste of soap will remind you not to be so trash-mouthed.
Yep.
So it's all a process.
Right.
You
And
have to stick with it.
the problem has been, it hasn't been a process. It has been the acceptance of, I know the word, I'm a not do bad person, therefore I am sanctified. That's not what it's talking about. It's an active ongoing. Because we know when he started out with the apostles, what were they hearing? The word. Where were they at? Total mess up city. Where are they at the cross? Still pretty messed up. Where are they at Pentecost? Still not all the way there. Peter's going to fall and going to have to go through the whole issue of Judaization, or not, because he still needs to be learning from the Word. Because the maturing process isn't an instantaneous. You don't tell the baby, here is the way you do it. Boom! And now the baby's a full-blown doctor. We understand. There's a whole lot of growth and maturing in the natural process. There's a whole lot of growth and maturing in the spiritual process. And like I said, with verse 20, he's already said, this doesn't stop with you all. I did it with you for a reason. And who will believe in me through their word. Not through your word. Think about that. He's telling them in such a way that it already implies, and I know what's going to happen. This is going to get written down. Because he didn't, if I was saying this to you all right now, who's going out? You all. So whose word would it be? Your word. That's not the quote. He understands. The word I'm giving right now is going to go forward from them out. So the person who's going to hear this, not one generation on, but 2, 3, 4, by their word. By who? Those who are sanctified. Their word. Who is part of that? We are. We are part of verse 20. He is praying for us as we go out. And it's our word. What word should that be? His word. And it should go out how? Through our sanctification. So that they desire that word just like the people did that we read about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
If we can find the peace and the comfort in the Word, it becomes evident, obvious to others.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know what makes you that way,
Right.
because they're all envious of peace. Anyone who's at peace.
Yep. And that's been the problem. What's been on display? I'm not worse than whatever. What needs to be on display? The sanctification that's occurring by the word. Yes, ma'am.
That's one thing I've heard a lot of parents say. You know, my child is ill, so that at least they're not,
Right.
I'm just thinking what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Or defending the fact they're not doing much, but at least the much that they're not doing isn't the real bad. And we've set a real low standard then. We need to be constantly encouraging one another so that the people that come in, what are we doing? We're encouraging them the same way we're encouraging each other to continue to grow and become. Verse 21 and following, that they all may be one, as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that you sent me, and the glory which you gave me I have given them, that they may be one just as we are one, I and them, and you and me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that you have sent me, and have loved them as you have loved me. Father, I desire that they also whom you gave me may be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory which you have given me, for you loved me before the foundation of the world. O righteous Father, the world has not known you, but I have known you, and these have known that you sent me, and I have declared to them your name, and will declare it, that the love with which you loved me may be in them, and I in them. It's that cycle. From the foundation, when I was with you, what am I manifesting to them now? The Father. So that they can become one with us. Because what's the goal? Truth? We're imitating Jesus, who was imitating the Father. Throughout the entire Old Testament, we are given witness to the Father's love, the Father's mercy, the Father's grace, the Father's justice. Whole lot of things. Unfortunately, we tend to do it the world way. Oh, God was mad at them here. He's punishing them here. There's a difference between punishment and correction. Punishment with no goal of correction, useless. Because if there's no goal of correction in punishment, what's the person going to do? The same thing all over again, because there was no correction to it. Whereas correction might feel painful at the time, but we've got the scripture. Feels painful at the time, but what does it bring about? Righteousness. You can't come out of that room until you've cleaned it. Oh, you just killed the kid. They're dying. That is the worst. I can't go out and do this. I can't do what? Oh, you're just so mean. From the kid's perspective, it's punishment. Until they finally get the clue about the behavior that's being told is expected of them. And as they get older, here's a hint. Tell them why clean rooms, organization of stuff is important. Why it benefits them. Because the truth is, at the end of the day, if all they end up doing is learning how to clean their room, did we really accomplish what we were intending to accomplish? If all they do is come to church, are we really accomplishing what we intended to accomplish? No. We've got to explain, teach, so that they are able to grow and mature. Because like I said, cleaning your room. Okay, they've got cleaning the room down pat. They keep their room cleaned. And if they don't grow beyond that, we've messed up, because we don't want them plateauing at something so low. This is a growth process. Learn to be organized, to be neat, so that you're aware of things and so forth as far as where they're at. What's the purpose of spirituality? Is it to plateau of, I do X, Y, and Z, I'm a good Christian because I do these 3 things? Or are we to be taking a look at situations and how can I do what Jesus would have done? How can I be the right in this moment, right here, right now? How can I speak up positively so the person understands, first off, I'm not judging you. I realize you're down and hurt. You don't need me to come along and kick you and say, oh, by the way, you were messed up. When the woman's caught in adultery, does Jesus say, yeah, they were right, you were a sinner? Or does he say, where are the people who judged you? They're not here. Okay. I'm not going to judge you either. Go and sin no more. He doesn't lambaste her over the coals and say, oh, let's just cook you and let everybody know. See, this is why we don't do that adultery thing. Because when we finally get caught, it's embarrassing. And you all need to learn from her bad example. Does he ever do anything like that? No. He says, go and sin no more. We have a lot of bad examples throughout Scripture. What should we be doing with those bad examples? Learning from them, growing, and not going back into those same situations. But learning, growing. There's got to be intentionality about the growth process, because it's just not going to automatically happen. Well, I've heard these stories 15 billion times. I must be good. No, you don't just say, well, I read the Bible once a year at least for the past 40 years. Therefore, I'm good with enough Bible knowledge in me. I don't need to be reading it anymore. I mean, 40 years is at least 40 times, and there were years I got through it 3 times. Let's just round it up to 50. I've read through the Bible 50 times, and there are people that will sit in the pew who've not gotten through it once. Don't I have enough in me already that I can just sort of set that part aside? And you all know I'm being so facetious right now. Because it doesn't matter how many years I played trombone, I still kept practicing to get better and better and better. Doctors don't just, boom, I have arrived. I don't need to read the journals. I am a doctor. I've got the degree. I've done the time. I do the surgery. No, they're constantly learning, striving to become better. A good elementary school teacher doesn't think, I can teach all of this with my eyes closed because I know all the subject matter. No, they're studying, how do I work with these kids better? How can I recognize problems within the kids' environment that I can possibly positively influence. Constantly striving to become that better. And we get it when it's in the real world. We don't get it when it comes to spirituality. And that's where we need to get that transition going.
Well, you didn't learn to play the trombone by reading a book.
No, I did not.
That doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. You've got to actually get out and do.
Practice.
Yep. And, okay, this is just a real quick one. Neither here nor there. There's two different words for knowledge in the Greek. There's the head knowledge, and there's the doing knowledge. I don't want the doctor who's only got head knowledge cutting into me. I want the doctor who's had experience cutting into cadavers first before he ever cut or she ever cut into a live person. I don't want them practicing for the first time on me. I'd like them to have experiential knowledge as opposed to just head knowledge. We used to call them paper engineers. They were people who had taken all the tests. Had they ever touched a single wire, a single computer, a single whatever? Nope, never touched any of it. But they got an A on the test. Go for it. Yes. Yes. Okay, I get that too. Scary part, all the doctors are practicing, but it's at both sides of it. And yeah, we need to develop that growth attitude and be encouraging it in one another so that it becomes contagious when others get exposed to it. It's, again, like I said earlier, the fruit of the Spirit concept. If we're constantly working at becoming and encouraging each other in that same area, when somebody comes in who's starting out at the very basics, what are they going to see? They're going to see people encouraging others in their growth and love, encouraging others in how they showed kindness, consideration, encouraging others in their long-sufferingness. And they're going to realize, well, yeah, that's what I want. And then they start picking up the encouragement process and it feeds itself so that they're ready to sanctify, just like we're called, just like it goes all the way back. With the guys that weren't ready yet, he was giving them it then and giving them the power at Pentecost, not because they'd earned it, but because they were going to grow and grow and grow. Because he talks about their glorification. With the possible exception of John, every one of them dies for the word. When it says glorification, he wasn't playing around. What are we told to do? Take up our cross daily and follow. You're not taking up anything and following anywhere when you're sitting comfortable with, I'm not too bad. It's effort to grow and mature. That's a big part of taking up our cross. Because when we're taking up our cross and following, are we doing the fun easy? No, it's effort. Just like today was for me. It was effort. I thought about it for a while before I said a single word. I thought about my own safety in the work environment before I said a single word. I was very purposeful in everything I said. But I was also purposeful in trying to be positive in communicating with this person. Yes?
It's just like in your case, you had somebody that was aggressive or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have to, I feel like, we have to measure up each person.
Yes.
You know, because you have people that are docile, they're not gonna come back at you, they just want you to help them or whatever, and you
Yep.
So you have to learn how to deal with that time.
Right. And okay, real quick on that one. I was once invited to be part of a, they called it a family retreat at the end. The Black brothers and sisters in Alachua County and a little bit beyond get together each summer. It used to be it was just the sisters, but this year they decided they were going to make it a whole family engagement, and I got invited. They wanted me there for the night when they were doing the skits. And the person that was in charge said, okay, Brother Kelly, you know people that I don't even know as well as you do. So I want you to be my curveball tonight. I'm like, okay, I can do that. So the skit goes on, and what they were doing was they were playing church. That was the skit. And within that skit, there were a lot of different situations. And when everybody was cooking the hat lady, because the hat lady was Miss Attitude, I said, okay, I was told to be the curveball tonight. What everybody's been doing right now is attacking the hat lady. What nobody has suggested is the following. I walked over to the hat lady. I picked up her hat that was protecting her space around her. What a beautiful hat. I am so glad you came to be with us today. I appreciate you. And I put my arm around her and gave her the biggest hug. It was Larry Darling's wife. Her eyes just bugged out of her head. She stiffened up like, I don't know what's he doing hugging me? And everybody in the group got a big laugh out of it. And I said, now. And the person who set this all up says, see, I knew he'd point out what we were missing. I said, no, actually, I haven't yet. I said, because what you need to understand is the right person to do that is the person who, when she turns to me, how dare you, and she rips me up one side and down the other for daring to touch her hat, daring to get into her space, daring to reach out and hug her. Who was I to? Because that was the attitude they'd already been talking about her with. That when she finishes her tirade, I need to be able to say, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend. I was just trying to let you know how much I appreciated, one, how beautiful the hat is, two, that you're here in worship. And I'm sorry if I said those two out of order. But if I've done any damage to the hat, let me know, I'll pay the bill. And then put the hat down, walk away, and not gossip about it. So, is everybody meant to talk to the hat lady? No. The person who talks to the hat lady is the person who has learned. How do you talk to the viper in a safe way? And after you've talked to the viper and the viper's bit you, how do you still remain who God has called you, as opposed to what kind of person you become when you get filled with the venom? Everybody got good and quiet. Because we understand it's not always the pleasant situation when you do the right thing. Sometimes they're going to throw vinegar back at you. You've got to understand what might come and respond biblically in love, so that there will still be the potential of rightly influencing that person. Because if you don't gossip and you do the positive things, and other people talk about, because unfortunately they will, how mean she was, I can't believe he never said anything to anybody. He hasn't gossiped, he hasn't nothing. When that word gets back to the hat lady is when, if she's called, what's her response going to be? I'm sorry. Now is when you have the opportunity to have an impact, because she's acknowledged she needs to change. And that's when you say, I meant what I said before. I was encouraged you came. Truth is, I'm encouraged that you came and said, I'm sorry. Not everybody does that after they stomp me. It means a lot. I've got a faculty member right now who spent an entire year ripping my head off in meetings to show that they were the boss. Over issues they knew I had absolutely zero control over, weren't even my area of responsibility, in spite of the fact that I say, I'm IT and that means it. The truth is, I was getting my head ripped off over finances. I have zero control over that. I was getting my head ripped off over scheduling. I have zero control over that. I was getting my head ripped off over faculty issues. I've got no control over that. But to make themselves feel big, who's the one that's not going to attack back and looks the biggest? That's Rich. Never said sorry. So I would be 1,000% honest with that person when they came back and said, I'm sorry. I'd be able to tell them, I appreciate that in ways you don't understand. Because there are so many people who don't, but who should. Thank you. You've made my day a blessing. Now that person is going to come back for more affirmation, because they know, one, you were sincere. Not just when you said, I'm thankful you're here. I'm thankful you said, I'm sorry. They see it in you like nobody's business.
And that's a part of sanctifying your character.
Yes. But, like I said, not everybody is ready to be the one who walks up to the hat lady. But it starts by walking up to the easiest person. Sorry, Savon, that is you. Because you're always Mr. Big Smiles. You walk up to Mr. Big Smiles and say, I'm happy to see you. And then you go up to Rusty and you let him know, I'm thrilled to see you're still wearing your Sunday hat on Sundays. Because every time I see, because his hat does say Sunday hat on it, right? Every time I see him wearing the Sunday hat, it puts a smile on my face because I know the joke. He's wearing a Sunday hat. It's Sunday. It's where it belongs. He's where he belongs. It's cool. And you work through the easies first. And then you work up to the point where, whoa, so-and-so doesn't look like they're having a good day. But we got a good communication going. You look a bit down today. What's going on? Is there anything I can do to help? 9 times out of 10, just saying, you look a bit down today, you noticed, helps right off the bat. And I'm pushed up against time, so I'm going to hush here. I'll let you all say anything you all want to add in, and I won't add anything to it.
Practice what you preach.
There we go. Practice what you preach. We profess to be Christians. What should we be practicing? What it says here.